Everybody, I wanted real quickly to make this video for anybody who may be thinking about pursuing a degree in nursing and isn't quite sure what the process is going to be like in terms of applying to nursing school. A little bit of background on me. I am about to start my first semester in a 4-semester accelerated bachelor degree program in nursing. I'll be starting actually at the end of this month, the end of August. So I'm super excited. And I thought this video might be helpful for somebody who basically was me maybe 2 or 3 years ago, just starting to understand the process of what it's like to apply to nursing school and maybe isn't quite sure what you have to do or maybe the best way to go about it. So I wanted to make this video for that person who is just trying to figure out what they want to do, and nursing might be an option for them and they just want to get some more information. So if that is something you think might interest you, then just keep on watching. Okay, so we have 5 tips and strategies for applying to nursing school. So tip number 1 is going to be to know your options. And this really is useful for anybody applying to any kind of school. But basically figure out what exactly you're looking for from a school. Something that people might assume is that every college or university offers some kind of nursing program, but you're going to find pretty quickly that part of the reason why it's so hard to get into a nursing program is because there's just a lack of them. Not every school has them, and there's different kinds of nursing programs. There's master's programs, there's entry-level master's programs, there's bachelor programs, there's RN to BSN programs if you already are an RN, you want to get your bachelor's degree. There's associate's degrees. So there's all kinds of options when it comes to looking into your nursing career. So you really have to know what you want to do and narrow down your options based on that. Also, of course, you want to look into different things like location, if that's important to you, knowing what's in your area and if you're willing to relocate, or if you really want to stay somewhere nearby or where you're willing to commute to. That's going to really help narrow down your options. Also cost, of course. You know, where I live, we have a public option for an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, and we also have a private school option that offers entry-level master's program as well as a bachelor's degree. And so typically, you know, not to speak broadly, but usually a private school is going to have a more expensive tuition than a public school. It might be something you are interested in and want to know more about. Of course, an associate's degree program is probably going to cost you less also because it's going to be a shorter amount of time. So things to think about when you're narrowing down your options. And then once you find out the schools that you are narrowed down to, let's say you narrowed down to like 2 or 3 schools that you are interested in going to, you basically want to do your research. You want to go on, find their website, and do all the research you can find on what the entry requirements are, what the application requirements are to get into their programs. It's going to vary, but it's going to be pretty similar across the board, but it will vary specifically for each school. Do your research. Look up if they offer any kind of seminars, orientations where you can go and you can see what the program is about, what they'll answer your questions. Because you could go on someone's website and it'll have a lot of information, but it's not as valuable as being able to go in person. If they don't have any kind of big seminar, see if they have counselors you can talk to and find out and ask any kind of questions you have, because it'll really help. Because the last thing you want to do is get confused on something that you're supposed to do for your application, and it's going to end up wasting time and energy and possibly money. So you really should find out, and if you can, go in person and talk to somebody if you have any concerns or just to get things straightened out. Okay, and tip number 2 is going to be to find out what prerequisites or co-requisite courses are required of you when you apply into the nursing program of your choice. And basically, once you find out what the prereqs and co-requisites are, you want to go ahead and set up your schedule for success. You want to find out, because many schools are going to have you apply sometimes a year in advance. So you need to be able to figure out what classes you're going to take and when, to make yourself able to get into the school and apply to the school when you want to. And also, don't be afraid of hard work. And what I mean by that is you may go in to see a counselor and they may discourage you and say, you know, you don't want to take these classes in the same semester because it's going to be too much work, it's going to take too much time. You don't want to do that, it's going to be really hard. And so they're going to scare you off from doing things. And that might pertain to you, but you need to know yourself. You need to know what your limits are and what you're capable of. Don't be afraid to take maybe 2 science classes in the same semester, or a science class and a math class, if it's going to get you to your ultimate goal of being able to apply when you want to apply. Know your capabilities. If you don't think you can handle the stress, then by all means space it out. Do your best. You can get the best grades possible, because that's important. But don't be afraid to maybe have a little bit of a stressful semester if you know what you're capable of, if you know you can still do your best. It's just going to maybe take a little bit more effort on your part. All right, tip number 3. If you've already completed some of the prerequisites or co-requisite courses that are needed for your program, but you're not happy with the grades you may have gotten, look into your options. And what I mean by this is most schools, at least the school that I went to, the community college that I went to complete my prerequisites, if you had received a C or better in a course, you could not retake it at that school at all. If you got a D or an F, you could, but if you got a C or better, you could not. And basically getting into the program that I wanted to get into was very, very competitive, to the point where I felt like I needed to have straight A's, 4.0 on my nursing prerequisites to be able to get in. So, that being said, I had taken an English course when I first went into community college, like when I was still in high school, and I really wasn't the best student at the time, so I had a C in it, but it was one of the prerequisites, so I needed to figure out what my options were. But when I went to an informational seminar at the school that I am going to be going to, and that's where I found out what I could do. And the teacher, or the woman who was organizing the seminar, explained that if you have a C in a course that you want to change, or even if you had a B and you really wanted to get an A, look into schools outside of your district. So in my area, we have community colleges, and there's about 4 or 5 in our area. They're all in the same district. But close by, in a neighboring city, in a neighboring metropolitan area, there's another district of community college schools. So what I did was I took that English course in that district, and basically she said, whatever course you take, if you take it at this school or this school, you tell us where to look on your transcript for your grade. So if you want us to look at this school for this grade, we'll do that. If you want us to look at this school for this grade, we'll do that. So that's what I ended up doing. I took it over the summer at the other school, got an A, and then when I applied, I sent all my transcripts, and I said, this school has the grade for my English course, this school has my grade for chemistry and what have you. And, that's what ended up happening. The community college that I went to originally, the one that I transferred from, did not recognize the retake. So I wouldn't be able to change any of my records at the community college level, but that really wasn't a concern to me. I was more concerned about getting into nursing school. So as far as my nursing school knows, I have an A in that class, and that's all that matters. So that's what I'm saying, is just find out what your options are, find out what you can do. Don't be discouraged if you're like, oh, I have a C in this class and no way I can fix it. You can also take some classes, there's options of classes you can take. So you can't take that exact class necessarily, but another course will fit the requirement, but it's a different course. So you can take that instead, and then they can just look at that course instead of the other one. Again, look at the school you're applying to find out for sure what their rules are, but that should make sense for the most part, that you can take a class somewhere else or fill a different requirement, and they're just going to look at that class and not overall. Okay, tip number 4 would be to find out what extra things that you can do to help boost your score, help boost your application. And what I mean by that is most programs are going to look heavily at your GPA for your prerequisite and co-requisite courses, and they're also going to probably look at some kind of pre-entry test, like a TEAS test. And so that's going to be your main bread and butter of how you're going to get into the school. But many places will also offer extra incentives, extra things you can do to help boost your score, to help boost your application, help boost your chances of getting into the school. The school I applied to had a couple different options. They didn't require it. Some schools might require you to do these things. These might be required. But if these are extra, then take advantage if you can. There were things like knowing a different language. But there were, asterisks with that, because I knew French, technically. I took French for 4 years in high school, and that would have been enough to just say, oh, I took it in high school. That would have fulfilled the requirement. They would have been happy with that. But unfortunately, they didn't care about French. they really only wanted languages people actively use in our region, and French is not one of those. So I kind of was SOL in that department. But if that's you, if you think you might want to use those extra points, you can take the time, take advantage, find out what these things are in advance, and do them as soon as you can, is what I'm saying. So if you can, try to take extra courses while you're doing your prereqs. Take a couple Spanish courses, take a couple Russian courses, whatever it may be, to help boost yourself, because it can get you a couple extra points, and those couple extra points could help you significantly. Also, they offered extra points if you had any kind of volunteer experience or work experience with in the medical field with patients. And that was something I didn't have, and I was looking into it closer to applying. I was like, well, I was getting a little bit nervous about my score, and I was seeing what I could do. But in my area, it was already so hard. There was a year process just to become a volunteer at a hospital that was nearby. So, and at that point, I was already trying to apply within a couple months. So I kind of had to just be like, all right, well, I'm gonna just go with what I got and see what happens. And luckily, it worked out. But if I would have planned ahead and really took all my options into consideration early, I could have completed volunteer work, or I could have taken extra courses just to help myself out and really increase my chances of getting in. So find out what you can do and do it as soon as possible. All right, and so my final tip number 5, is going to be to take any pre-entry tests you may have to take after you've taken the courses that correspond with the test. So what I mean is, in my region, we have to take a test called the TEAS test. I believe it's a TEAS 5 right now. And it's a general aptitude test, but it focuses on math, science, like reading comprehension, and then like an English, grammar, sentence structure area. So really the main bread and butter you're going to want to focus on is going to be your science and your math. And you're taking science and math courses as your prereqs to get into nursing school. And the test is going to focus on that. The test focuses on the science sections. It focuses on microbiology, anatomy and physiology, as well as chemistry, organic and inorganic chemistry. So it's kind of a lot. It's only so many questions, but it could cover any of those subjects. So if you really want to set yourself up for success, you're going to want to take the classes that correspond to the test first, because you might end up trying to take this test and trying to teach yourself new material you haven't even learned yet. And that can be really hard. Find out what your options are though first. My test, we had the option of taking up to 4 times, and they were going to take the highest score out of those 4 times. So knowing that, I felt a little bit more comfortable going in and taking it when I did the first time. And I took it basically when I was in the middle of my first anatomy and physiology course and the middle of my microbiology course. So I knew some stuff, I was familiar with some of it, I was learning some of it at the moment, and other things I hadn't even learned at all, I hadn't touched. So it was scary to go in and try to learn new topics that I hadn't had any real experience with besides learning them for this test. So if I can advise anything, is try to schedule yourself for success. Plan this out as well as you can, because the more you do, the more successful you're going to be. And if you can plan it out so you can take these courses and then you can take the TEAS a couple times maybe before you have to apply, that would be ideal, and it'll put you in the best spot for success. So I hope this video was helpful to anybody who may be interested in applying in nursing school. Ultimately, the biggest tip I can give you is just to plan ahead, find out what's required of you from the schools you're interested in applying to, and do the work as soon as you can, and set it up so that you can do what you need to do on a timely basis. I think the nursing profession kind of appeals to a wider range of type A personalities who do well in school usually and do well under pressure, like a challenge. So I feel like the pre-entry process is kind of a test to see if you fit that personality type, if you're the kind of person who can stick to a schedule and be organized. That's essential for being a nurse. So just take your time, but make sure that you have a good schedule set up and that you're organized. Comment below if you are starting nursing school soon, or if you're in nursing school, if you're thinking about nursing school. Let me know. Let me know if you have any suggestions for future videos. If you could please like my video and subscribe, that would make me so happy. But let me know that basically you're interested in watching videos like this, and I can put out more content for you. So again, thank you for watching. Bye!